No.
No.
Cheyenne. You're the president, aren't you? Oh. This is the first meeting you're on? Second.
Yeah, I think next week you have to stay after the meeting, do it.
Good evening. I'd like to call the regular council meeting to order. Susan, could you do roll call, please?
Yep. Counselor Halverson.
President?
Counselor McElraha.
Present.
Counselor Faulkner.
Here.
Counselor Halibut.
Here.
Counselor Baki.
Here.
Mayor Lance. Absent.
Thank you. I will be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda with the addition of items 2 and 3 under section C, Larry Olstead, Public Works Supervisor, and adding Executive Director Paul Peltier from RAMS under City Administrator Scrava's reports.
Make a motion.
Yep.
Or.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Halverson, did you have was for public participation? If we do have any public participation, I would like to remind the public that we ask that you keep your participation to 5 minutes or under. All right. First, we have David Mack.
A couple of different things. One is the bricks on the sidewalk. I mean, right in front of the city hall door, the bricks are down this far. An older person like myself that can't walk that good, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Second thing is, I guess you built the Veterans Park across the lake. Did anybody ask any veterans whether that should be built or whether it should be there? I know it's where there is a Veterans Park at the Iron Well. That's kind of in a bad spot. People riding bikes, coming by on the bike trail, could be running right into people, having picnics and stuff there. Especially if they have young kids, you know, they like to run. I don't think that's the proper spot for it. And then, one more thing, this Pledge of Allegiance, whose God are we talking about? That should be left out. I don't mind the Pledge of Allegiance, but the under God part, that's a no-go. Thank you.
Darlene.
Okay. I'll go around that.
I guess in regards to the Veterans Park that's in front of my property has been in the family for 75 years. This place is depressing. It doesn't belong there. I talked to a couple justices in Minneapolis, and their recommendation to me was to pursue it because the city is very political, but because my husband and I were specifically told by 3 of the members on the beautification board that it would be benches on concrete and a half circle that they would pave because it was dirt for years. Well, every time I've come to a council meeting, it's been from concrete to all of a sudden canopies. Come to another meeting, then it's picnic tables, and now it's a really screwy parking situation. I know that in the last 2 days after they removed the cones, I've had 17 people in 2 days park there. Some pull in and drive through, some park on the boulevard. They're getting quite creative even on my property. Some park in the alley, and some don't know quite if that's a parking lot or a fishing area to unload their fishing stuff or what it really is, but nobody really is comfortable with their children there. And I think that because Vita Panika put Iron Man where they put it, that would have been ideal. The disc golf course parking outhouses would have been ideal for tournaments. The kids park. So I guess what the justice said to me is, how in the hell did it end up in front of my property when there's all of these wonderful places where it was needed, see? And the DNR kind of said, well, the gal that was in charge of the permit was only there for 10 months and he wasn't. But that isn't his understanding of the kind of parking that was supposed to be there. It was supposed to be the half circle. Because when you pave that, is the first person, what they do when they pull in there, they go right down my alley. So not only do I put up with them in front of the property, but now I've got them cruising the alley. And as everybody knows, the city doesn't have time to be fixing the alleys. So now we've got that to run. I've already had theft from when I first got there 2 years ago out of my garages. I've wanted to improve the property. I spent $14,000 taking down trees in front of the house, planting more trees, gardening, trying to make it look nice. With the idea I would put my small retirement home where the old house used to be, but my view is the top of canopies and picnic tables and a driveway. So I don't know what happened, but I know my husband died, and somebody got a hold of that wind that let's put it there. But you know what? That's not right, and I've been told that down in Minneapolis. And another thing, the city does not own the property the canopies and picnic tables sit on. The state of Minnesota does. And the judge very, very, very politely gave me the paperwork for it. It is not deeded to the city of Chisholm, period. So now we have canopies and picnic tables on property the city does not own. And if they were gonna own it, every property owner on the lake, because it's considered lakeshore, should have been invited and had a say as to what went there. So that's black and white. So I have one or two choices. I can go to the cities, I can get the attorney and I can make you move it, or you can save me some money and I can do it through the legislation. I can do that. Or you can come to some common ground here and do something besides nothing, because this is really old hat. So I'm hoping that you're all smart, you're all good, and you'll make some decisions here. And another thing, anybody who's serving on these boards, if they're old and can't remember, or they've had strokes or dementia sitting in, then maybe there should be an age limit for people that serve on these boards that make decisions for the public that aren't qualified to do so. So, and I'm saying that as a nurse. So, that's what I have to say tonight, so good luck, but I think you all have to do something, because this is not gonna work. Thank you.
And that is all we have signed up for public participation. Moving on to council reports. Councilor Holla.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I attended the last council working session, the Public Utilities Commission meeting, the Central Iron Range Sanitary Sewers meeting, and the City Safety meeting.
I attended a working session and an HRA meeting last week, and tomorrow we'll be attending a tour of the National Resources Research Institute in Coleraine, followed by a Rams board meeting. Councilor Rocky.
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, I apologize I missed the last meeting. I was in Michigan with my volleyball team that I am coaching, so couldn't be here, so my apologies for that. Couple of notes coming up. First, the Community Foundation has a Halloween Burger Bash coming up at Jim's on October 30th from 3 to 7 p.m. Adult baskets are $13, and new this year is a kitty basket for $10. You can get your tickets from any board member, including myself, and you can also see me in a hamburger costume outside of Jim's that day, welcoming you to the Burger Bash. Regarding the chamber board that I sit on, there is a survey that is going out to members for community feedback on events and direction for the chamber. First, it's being sent out to the membership to see how many responses we get back before we think about posting it elsewhere. But if you are a member, please take that survey so we can have that feedback. And finally, I have 2 things for the school district. September is Suicide Prevention Month. The volleyball team is celebrating that tomorrow. They are honoring Suicide Prevention Month with the purple theme. So if you are attending a volleyball game tomorrow, please wear purple. I suggest Viking purple since they're 3-0. Nobody expected that to happen. So it's just my little plug for them. And also homecoming begins this Friday. So we'll have our kickoff pep fest at 2:15 in the gym, and Friday is hat and jersey day. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Felton.
Hi, good evening, everyone. On the 17th, I attended half of the working session. I was able to at the new public safety building, which was really awesome. The Hibbing Foundation coordinator reached out to me, and she wanted to have me let the Chisholm folks know on October 5th at the Hibbing High School auditorium at 4 o'clock. There's a free event for the whole community, and it's the Wonderful World of Chris Monroe. It's a kids comedy show, and she's also a Minnesota author and illustrator. So everybody's welcome to go to that. It's free on October 25th. Turn Valentini's event, which all the proceeds go to the Angel Fund, so Northeastern Minnesota, to provide financial assistance to families with cancer on the Iron Range. So if you guys want to support that on October 25th, there's tickets there you can buy and raffles going on. And it's a good community engagement. Precious Paws is also looking for volunteers. So if you would like to be a volunteer, you can reach out to them. Their contact number is 254-3300. And if we approve this tonight, it's another one of your chamber events.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween.
Yeah, I got pet parade. Pretty phenomenal.
Pet parade at 6 p.m. on October 30th.
Yeah.
So that's all I have, thanks.
Register your pet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Halverson.
No report.
Thank you. City Ambulance Director.
Hi there, a couple quick updates. Under the emergency manager hat, we have met officially now with our public assistance delivery manager from FEMA, Monica. So from the flooding earlier this year, the city did sustain some damage. And we are going through the very fun process of getting together with Monica and we've been tasked with getting all of our data collection now. The department heads have been tasked with a lot of data collection, getting, damage assessments, receipts, quotes, progress reports on the things that we have fixed and the things we're hoping to improve also. So that stuff is ongoing. We have a lot more meetings planned. We'll have site visits from some FEMA people. There will be anywhere between 2 to 4 days of site visits coming up and multiple more meetings. But if you have questions on that, feel free to get a hold of me. I'm kind of the point of contact for that. So let me know if you have questions. We're just starting with that. It is a long process. On the EMS side of it, we're at 712 calls today. I think that is 6 calls just today so far. We haven't till midnight yet. So we've picked up a little bit on our last calls. Ambulance number 3 that I feel like we've been talking about forever. We should be taking delivery very late October, and we have to program and install the radios and the computer once we physically have it, but it should be in service and responding to calls early November. Those are our updates. So let me know if you have any questions. Yeah.
Is Redhead on the list for FEMA? There's some damage.
Oh, absolutely. And Redhead is a very special case, right? Because it is unlike many other things. So there was definitely some education with FEMA about what Redhead is and what it brings to our city and how important it is. So one of the things FEMA likes to stress is not just getting things back to the way they are, but they have a huge emphasis on mitigation, so things don't be affected the way they were before. So we're working with Monica on different ways we can do that with Redhead. Accessibility is an issue there, just because of how wild that terrain is. So Bridget has been extremely busy and extremely organized, but she's having to take pictures and video and GPS, and a lot of work to make sure that we're getting everything we can out of that. But absolutely, that is definitely a pet project of ours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, feel free to get a hold of me anytime. Thank you.
You're right, you have fun in my two different things there.
Fire chief is.
You're
Also tonight. Chief Man.
Madam Council President, I do not have a report tonight, but I wanted to say that official title.
Thank you.
Oh,
City building official and zoning administrator.
that's what you're supposed to address it.
Good evening.
Good evening, Council and Madam Mayor. Okay, so just a quick update. So we've been really busy. To date, we have a total of 632 building permits that have been issued in the city, and as you can probably guess, the majority of those are roofing permits. So I still am getting the same amount of other remodel and garages and sheds and fences, so that's good, but we've been very busy with that. I am working on the IRRB residential redevelopment grant, so you should be seeing a resolution coming forward for that at the next council meeting. There'll be 3 single-family dwellings and 3 garages on that application. Other than that, it's been busy with our everyday things. A lot of permits coming through.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. City engineer Jim Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Council, just a quick update. Larry will give you a quick update on where we're at with our Mellon Overlay project. It looks like that got initiated today, but I'll let Larry give you the scoop on it. With regards to our 5th Street project, it's going along extremely well, progressing very nicely now that we've got good dry weather. Utility work is all done. The last portion of it was putting the new sewer and water in that alley to the east of Central Avenue to the west of First Avenue Southeast. And as a result, now our new lift station has been put in operation and is operating. As you see, a lot of the curb and gutter and sidewalk has been placed, put in. That crew will be back here, we think, the end of this week or certainly next week, and the final grading for that easterly block, east of Central Avenue. They were able to pull the old lift station out once that utility work got done. So that street is being prepped and ready for gravel. What we're anticipating, and as you see, if you go out there today, they've been doing a lot of work this week in terms of restoration of the boulevard areas, getting ready for sod in advance. So what we're expecting next week is pretty much to get the streets ready, finish up the curb and gutter with the handicap ramps and so forth. And hopefully that first full week in October, we'll begin and get our first layer of base course of blacktop put on. So keep it nice and dry for us. A little bit of dust there, a little bit of rain is fine, but we don't need gully washers of an inch or 2 within an hour. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Otherwise, thank you.
Thank you.
Council, thank you. And just a few updates. So mill and overlay did start today. Got a couple phone calls already. Very excited. Everyone, we get that done. We've all been waiting for that. There'll be a couple new streets. It's super helpful, and some alleys. So we're working through that. They did start today. We expect the milling machine on Monday. That's the new update today, but it changes daily depending on how that goes. If the thing breaks down in Rochester or something, it won't make it on Monday. It could be Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. But we'll stay on top of that. Today went very well for kickoff to that. And then just a few things about the seasons are changing. So the hanging plants came down. I think our great new vendor, Grand Rapids Floral, we got new baskets and they lasted longer than they've ever lasted since I've been employed here. So it's a huge investment and they look beautiful and they lasted about 3 weeks longer than usual. And we got them earlier. We never usually got them before. It was like beginning of June and we actually had them for Memorial Weekend. So with that, and then the sweeper will be out as soon as we get some more leaves down. They're starting to turn, so they'll be down sooner than later, I'm sure. We're done patching for the year. We're on grinding stumps and back on trees. And I continue to work on that $90,000 storm water grant. April gave me a nice reminder on that tonight, but I do have some work orders that I submitted to the grant. If they get approved for reimbursement, then I'll bring it to the council for final approval. So working on that, and that's what I have for you besides what's in the packet.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Larry.
Parks, Trails, Rec Director, Bridget.
Good evening. I just wanted to report that flag football with its new coordinator, Coach Nelson, has been going extremely well. I got out there and got to see him in action. He has a helper and the two of them are teaching a lot of skills right on the field, doing extra practices. So it all looked good and we have 29 players, which is up from last year. So that's good news too. The MCA race, Minnesota Cycling Association race, is coming up in a couple weeks. That's October 11th through the 13th. I just got word from the executive director of the MCA that they're going to be between 1,600 and 1,800 student athletes, which is on par with 2 years ago. And he estimated between 2,500 and 3,000 people on site per day. So that's a good number, I think, for the community to understand and know and, to promote their business. And we've been working with the Chisholm, Shannon is Chamber, the Chisholm Chamber. That's of course, the Chisholm Chamber. Sorry, and they're doing the call outs to chamber members to do discounts, and that's all already up on the website. So we're ahead of the game this year. We can still use volunteers, so happy to take some. There's already at least one in this room who's volunteered, and I thank him. But there's a lot who haven't determined that they're going to volunteer yet. So that anybody from the community can volunteer, spread the word. That's to help with parking. And then finally, I do want to give an update on Memorial Park. There was a little bit of a communication issue between two contractors, which is resulting in the timeline being pushed out a little bit. We have a concrete contractor and then the equipment / pour-in-place contractor, and the community. There was a change in the footprint of where they were moving equipment to, and so now we are getting a brand new swing set because it needs to be able to fit. Everything needs to fit in the concrete border and not pull out the concrete border that got put in. So ultimately, I guess a couple added weeks, but we get a brand new swing set. And the existing swing set, while it was nice, it did have wear and tear on it. So this is good news, and it goes with the color scheme of the whole playground better. So that's great. So that's all my updates, unless you have questions.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The library supervisor is not here tonight. City attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I don't have a formal report tonight, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and I will be on the agenda later for the contract issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk treasurer.
Honorable.
Thank you. And then under city administrator scrub out, we have Paul Peltier to present Rams.
Madam Council President, JD Esquire, et cetera, beyond, and Council, thank you very much. My name is Paul Peltier, I'm the Executive Director of Rams, and after the days we've had, we can all use a good laugh, right? That's it. The Range Association of Municipalities and Schools. You are no stranger to Rams. Councilor Bakke was on the Rams board. Councilor Mikkel Raha serves as an interim appointment now, and I would encourage you, if you're interested, to also put in again for the Rams annual dinner on December 19th. Those nominations will come out shortly. So the entire council is obviously invited, as well as all of our corporate and municipal guests. I'm here today, not in a public comment capacity where there's no interaction, but the expectation is that we can have a conversation a little bit. Talk a little bit about what Rams is, who we are, what we do and why we matter, and what we can do to help the city of Chisholm. What can we do to be helpful as one range, one voice, one entire taconite assistance area region impacted by the mining industry, taconite production taxes, and our municipal boundaries. So one of the things Rams does is we break down silos, either among communities or among statewide. So we build partnerships across geography and within our own borders. So if there's a municipal issue between two municipalities, we try and bring it together. Case in point, Great Scott and Kinney were having a conversation. They were having a difficult time getting some answers from a company. We got everybody to sit down in the room together and we got them some answers. That's a really important part of what we do at Rams. We advocate for our members, and it's a members first organization, and it's a range first type of organization as well. We began in 1939 to push back against getting taken advantage of by a mining company at that time. The Oliver Mining Company was taking local production tax, which didn't exist at that time in the form of property taxes, and taking it and sending it to Pittsburgh. The mayors and groups around that time decided, hey, enough is enough, and Rams was formed. They were formed to push back against that, create some legislation that would return that local wealth to the place it was generated so it could go to work for the communities of the Iron Range. And that's what we still stand guard over today. So very important work, very happy work. It can be challenging sometimes, but we do work with the entire range delegation and all of our statewide electeds to try and tell the story of the Iron Range, to educate them on that. That brings me to a little bit of background about myself. I've been at Rams for about 14 months. I took over for Ida Rukavina and Steve Georgie, my indomitable predecessors who served this organization along with their predecessors for an untold number of years. We have an experience in my family being teachers, and so I'm an educator. Taught band and choir for 15 years. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. We got 4 little kids. They're in the Rockridge School District. And yes, we did look at the little cute house in Chisholm as well when we were moving here. But you know that market 2 summers ago, she was a pretty hot one. So hard to find a home. That is one of the things that we focus on is housing too. So you're like, what does Rams do? What's going on? We do all the things. So if it affects life on the range and it affects your ability to afford your life here in this place we do love, we care about it. So some of the things I want to do today is share with you a map of where we find ourselves. This is a map of the taconite assistance area, and for those of you in the audience, we can provide electronic copies as well as Steph can make some other copies for you if you need it, or just ask me. I've got copies in the car. There's a big version of this that I call the placemat because it's really, really nice paper. You can spill coffee on it or whatever your beverage of choice is, and it will clean up very quickly. It tells us where we are in relation to our neighbors. It shows the 15 school districts, the 27 townships, and the 27 cities that make up the taconite assistance area membership of Rams. And this is an opt-in organization. People see value in it, and they want to be a part of it because they know the good work that's been done and continues to do with the organization. And why do we do that? It's because we're connected to our members. I'm here to ask you what your priorities are, what can Rams do to be of service to the city of Chisholm and your residents, and how can we be helpful moving forward into the 2025 legislative session. In your packet that you've received from me, you'll see a list of 2024 legislative priorities, and that's not a mistake. Hey, Peltier, we're looking at 25 coming up. What's going on? If you do math well, remember, I was a music teacher. I was only ever paid to count to 4, and repeatedly, and sometimes 6, okay? But 2025 is in formation right now. You will receive an electronic survey. You will receive phone calls, and I'm here tonight to ask for your feedback. How did we do? What did we do? And what did you see on that list that you liked? What do you want to see different? What do you want me to pull on? What new issues are coming up? Those types of things when I get to the end of my little spiel here. Also in there is a what happened in the legislative session summary. It isn't all the things that Rams particularly went for and advertised for and fought for, but it is a general sense of what happened in the legislative session. So if you were interested in transportation and you're wondering what happened across the state, this is also in there. And there are a number of sizable wins in the last legislative session for the city of Chisholm, for the taconite assistance area, and for our Rams members. I'm not going to go through every single one of them. You can go through them at your leisure. They're a very multitude, and we credit our lobbyists as well as our cohort of helpful coalition that make that happen, because we can't do it alone. I really want to put a fine point on this. There's only 153,000 people in the taconite assistance area. In our 7-county region of northeastern Minnesota, 153,000 people. You take 2 random suburbs around Maple Grove and they got us beat. So what do you got to do? You got to stand up and say what your needs are, and you have to not shy away from that and be proud of that, because you've thought it through. You've got a history, and the people of Chisholm know all about history. This is the center of the universe, after all. I mean, Tony Sturridge wasn't wrong, so he made sure it's so. But Valentini's is my place, I will tell you, my people. The Soups meetings, there's a reason that people know Chisholm, right? Just going through some of the things that we have worked on recently, we've been a big proponent of broadband for the last 5 years leading up to and through the pandemic and to today. The easiest of the hard to serve areas have been served. Cities have ostensibly been overbuilt. There are pockets everywhere of non-service, but in St. Louis County in particular, ledge rock continues to be a plague. It's a really big deal. If you know someone who lives in a rural place, like outside of a major municipality, it's hard to get broadband. So what do? We try and drive the funding towards that. We bring providers and community together to make a speed dating situation where they say, hey, does it work for you to serve my area? They say yes, no, we move on until we get to a yes, and we don't give up. That's been very gratifying recently. Housing is turning into the broadband of the future. Housing shortage is real. It's affecting employers' ability to hire. It's affecting people's ability to live in a place that they choose. I met with Aaron Shea with United Way, and we discussed the problems around housing. You're very fortunate to have an organization like that in your community that's involved and that you are also involved with. I host the housing meetup. We've got a contribution from a lot of our range communities about what housing looks like right now. I would encourage you to look at that. It was in last week's Minnesota Tribune, and you can see what's going on. You know full well the efforts that your council and your community have engaged in housing, and you know the struggle that comes with. So don't give up on housing. There are lots of programs out there. The legislature allocated $1.3 billion in the 2023 legislative session. My question is, how much of that money is making it north? Are we ready as communities? Raising that awareness is part of the work of Rams now. As a former educator who used to be on the board of teaching for licensure things, as well as a union negotiator in my role as a teacher, I now sit on the Permanent School Fund Distributions Task Force Committee. That's the group that decides recommendations to the state legislature on how much of the school royalties dollars go back to schools. Currently, right now, Chisholm Public Schools get about $30,000. I think that should be doubled. The communities that produce should be at the table saying, hey, we're helping the whole state. And Hennepin, they have a lot of kids. They get $2.3 million. They have a lot of kids, I get it, you know. But let's have a conversation about that. So we're in those rooms, we're making those conversations happen, we're building relationships. EMS continues to be a very serious concern across our region. You just heard a report tonight about the number of calls as of half an hour ago. Hopefully we stay at 6 and everyone stays healthy, but you know that your people are here because they care and they're prepared and they're funded and they're ready to go. It doesn't mean it's easy, it doesn't mean it's not strenuous, it just means that you have a solution right now. I know that range delegation legislators worked very hard to deliver an EMS solution in some way, shape, or form in the form of compensatory aid for losses incurred in the 2022 year. We know that's not enough ongoing. We'd like to see Medicare and Medicaid really kicking up their reimbursement levels on the federal level. And it's starting to appear that there are things that the state of Minnesota has done and Rams has advocated for that we've maxed out. We've done what we can at the state level. What does that ask look like at the federal level now? And that goes to brownfield remediation as well. You know that you can't repurpose land if you're landlocked unless you've got money to do it. So working in partnership with ARDC, the state of Minnesota, MPCA, regulators, as well as our federal partners, we're going to bring those resources to northern Minnesota and that conversation to them. Again, that's just a small amount of what we do. It's really exciting work, it's gratifying work, but the best work is when I get to talk to you, take you through some of the things that we have worked on, some of our priorities. You'll see on our legislative priorities, they are a multitude, and they really touch all facets of life in rural Minnesota. I've also included a school trust fund baby document at the end. It's a little bit of a primer on what happens to that money when it comes in. But we staunchly defend LGA and its hard-won gains. We don't want to ever see that go back. We know that LGA is the lifeblood of a city, and without it, the city will suffer. So we stand strong with our partners across the state who also know that struggle, and they also rely on that. And when that wealth is deposited where it belongs, the people benefit. So that's a little bit of my introduction to you. I'm happy to be here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. And with that, I'd like to ask you, what can Rams do to be helpful to you? And what would you like to see us advocating for as we head into 2025? What are some things that Chisholm is working on now?
I'll go. So I was on Rams prior, and it's a fantastic organization, and thank you for all that you do. For me, although Chisholm is the center of the universe, it's the heartbeat of the Iron Range for me. And we are very progressive here, much more than surrounding communities, in my opinion. And so, you know, although we may be landlocked, we do have a housing project that we need to continue to move forward, and we need to continue to get as much funding help as we can for that. I'd also echo your sentiments about the school district. Being I work there, I feel like schools are severely underfunded, and I'm sure every school in Minnesota would echo that. So I think continuing to work on that. Childcare, we have another childcare provider in this town retiring this year, so that's a big thing here, is childcare. And then I guess the last thing for me would be local government aid, and I think that we've not been given proper increments, I guess I would say, of amount of money increases that we probably should be getting. And when the council gets to meet with Devin soon about budgets, our budget is 95%. We don't even get to talk about it because it's set. So we're really talking about like a 5 to 6% window of money, which isn't very much in our budget, that we have to then try and divvy out into projects. Well, when we have major projects in infrastructure that is very old, that's usually where the money ends up going. So I think we've done a really good job here, but I think that local government aid really is a big thing for me, and that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
We have a huge infrastructure problem up here. Everything's old, 90 years old, 100 years old. Our streets, our pipes, everything like that. I'd like to see it, like Rams work with the federal government and try to get some of that infrastructure money and make it streamlined, have more like a streamlined process of it.
How is WIF and PFA working out for you on the state level?
Pretty good. It's a pretty easy process. Jim's does the PFA quite a bit, so.
I think we could probably use some help. We've had issues with, I think it's called the fiscal disparities thing, where we have these formulas and things where all of a sudden money disappears from us and it goes somewhere else. Just kind of hard to grasp sometimes why that's happening, and why is it being distributed the way it is, and why are cities losing money in that field. And also on state grant administration, We've had a lot of difficulty lately with state grant administration.
Any particular agencies? We could follow up online too, but.
Our latest one was a DNR grant that was lost due to lack of communication. Simple as that.
Thank you.
What about taxes? Is that what you're talking about? Or St. Louis County taxes?
Well, that.
That formula?
No.
Where do they go?
Eileen, when she was here, she gave us some education on fiscal disparities and how it's somehow, how the formulas work and how some rule got changed, and all of a sudden, a lot of places lost lots of money because of it. And Chisholm was one of them.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It had something to do with the North Shore and short-term rentals or something like that.
Interesting, okay. Hold on that.
and a lot of people, like, that's a hard one, because they don't, like, it's hard for me to explain to someone why that money got taken from us when I don't really understand it myself.
Eileen did a good job
You know,
explaining, but it was
she
very
did.
hard to follow. So it
Yeah.
was,
But yeah, fiscal disparities is what it was called.
something to do with a law that, where a rule got changed, where properties were changed the way they were evaluated, and
Thanks.
it changed the formula a lot.
I got one more thing, if I don't mind. On the EMS side of things, Jed and I, are on the ambulance here, but is there some kind of funding or help or something where, we have really old radios, and I can tell you from personal experience that some of the time we get a call and I don't even know what it is, because my radio is just, it's so hard to understand, and they're aging, and that's important stuff when you're responding.
And these radios aren't cheap.
No.
Oh, $500,000 to replace all 3 of our programs.
So I think it's, a little push for that.
Well, I think we're doing a wonderful job here in Chisholm. Stephanie and everybody here is working really hard on grants and working on housing development, and Jim is working on moving. You guys are all movers and shakers. I think we're doing a great job, and I think if there's anything more that we can do, just throw it at us. We'll handle it, right? We'll take care of it.
Big shoulders, right, Sam?
Yeah.
There you go.
I believe in her.
One of the questions that I have, unless Madam Council President would like to go next.
I don't have anything in addition to what's already been said.
One of the things I wanted some feedback on is the Minnesota legislature provided a resolution to the Tyler v. Hennepin lawsuit, which has to do with tax forfeit properties. And one of the unfortunate consequences that we're noticing is that some cities are noticing that blight is rearing its ugly head. And the ability to manage blight is now turning into a thing that we have to talk about in a different way, okay? What is that conversation like in Chisholm? What can be helpful to that? Right now I'm noticing that there's no compensatory pot of money to anyone who wants to manage those properties. Falls back on the city. Yes, the county owns it, but who's the rightful owner of that? What does it come down to when it's your neighbor and is right next to your house or something like that? Those questions are starting to be presented now. And as an unintended consequence of fixing a mandate from the U.S. Supreme Court, which I guess is weird because, like in a closely divided Supreme Court, we got a unanimous ruling that Minnesota was in violation of federal law on that, and unconstitutional taking of property. So if we're going to be known for something, I guess we get rally around this, right? No, I wish not, right? But ultimately, blight is a real concern. Who manages it? Who pays for it? How does it happen? Do you have to shop the list early, the delinquency list? Do you get site control that way? There are a multitude of solutions. What kind of solutions would you like us to advocate for at Rams? Is that a conversation you've had yet, or yet to be determined?
We talk about it often.
Several times.
Are you referencing just the tax?
Yeah, there's two different things here.
Yeah, but they are connected is what I'm trying to say.
Well, we have
That-
our personal property blight issues, and then, I don't know, do we have a lot of?
Oh, yeah, we have a lot of, well, look at any house that is then abandoned or that's burnt, that's come down, or look, any tax forfeited that's falling apart. Who's it come down to? The city ends up raising that building, even though it's county owned, and it ends up on the city dime, and us paying a tipping fee. So there's a lot of mitigated help that could help that. And years ago, IRRB had a program to assist on that, but that has gotten smaller and smaller, where they used to actually raise the building. And so, yeah, it always falls back on the city. I like the poor city of Yule with the school, if what's gonna happen there.
So I would encourage this city, like others, to collect your stories about what this impact looks like for you. Connect those to me, and I can help connect you to state change makers, so that we tell a story for the Iron Range and how it's affecting us. And you know what? Every community is feeling this pain right now. And if enough communities across the state, and if we do our part, bring this story to bear, people don't care about numbers. Numbers are great. If you can put a story and a face to it, that's when you're gonna get some action. That is very important. So as you collect those stories and that impact, you work with your city staff, you work with your law enforcement, you work with your zoning officials, all that. Anyone who works with this, collect those stories, connect them to me, and I will help connect you to people who can help make a difference. And we'll try and push that together. Because as the tagline is, one range, one voice, but it's made up of everybody's individual contributions. And that's the strength.
Thank you.
Bring your boots.
Yes.
Well, I thank you for the time in front of you today, and I'll stick around to kind of listen to the rest of the council action today. And I told Administrator Scrava that I'd like to stick around for a picture at the end if you'd have me. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Administrator Scrava. I just have a couple of things to report to the council. I was able to connect with Vic Lund from St. Louis County on the new veterans area with the parking that has been implemented in there. He said there is no concern with the permit that they have with the state, or with the city, excuse me. What the permit allowed was the curb cut to allow the construction up there. He said he's recently driven by and he didn't have concerns with that. I've also gotten a contact from the state too, and there doesn't seem any concern on that level either. But I'm still reaching out to them. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda, including list of bills, communications, minutes of previous meetings, payroll, and overtime. And if there are no corrections, I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, and with no unfinished business, we'll move on to new business. Chief Minnick.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Madam Council President and Council. Just before you, just a little educational piece. This isn't a gambling permit. This is a premise permit license for unlawful gambling to be taken or to be held, which this goes to the Gambling Commission for pre-approval, but these need a resolution from council. And it's not very often we do these, that's why I always give that little educational piece. So as you may or may not know, this Levinsky Dome is looking at opening upstairs again. And they're looking for gambling and a bar that'll be coming, liquor license will be coming soon for your approval after the state approves it. But for now, it's just we need resolution number 0924-77 to be approved by the council for allowing charitable gambling at that premise.
Thank you. All right, council, I would look for a motion to adopt resolution number 0924-77, approving the premises license for MPET Post 12 at the Slavinsky Dome.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Rocky.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Halverson. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
See Jim, see you quick.
Didn't want to listen to you all night anyway.
Oh, I saved my time for you.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the council. The first item on our agenda, if you go to page 17, is asking you to set a public hearing date and time. And I'm proposing at 5 o'clock in advance of your next meeting on October 9th. The facility plan, of which you have a copy of that, the 5-year capital improvement program and replacement, starts on page 19. Whenever we are going after funding for the sanitary sewer, or what we call the clean water side of the Public Facilities Authority funding on our infrastructure replacement projects, we have to prepare a facility plan similar to the one that is included here. In the past, we did it when we did the Lakeview addition, and we also prepared the facility plan for our 5th Street South. In moving forward in future years, the gentleman at the Pollution Control Agency suggested that we do a 5-year plan such that we don't have to do it on an annual basis. So that's really what this is all about, is bringing this plan forward. We have to hold a public hearing on it and have it adopted by the City Council. And as I said, as you see, Susan provided you with the text of this facility plan. We did not include the appendices, which quite often were just policies of the city dealing with our point source televising inspection, our chapter 52, 53 dealing with water and our sewer ordinances and policies within the city. But if you would turn to page 34, which is the 5-year program, which I took from that the council adopted last year as we move forward with their projects. It was color-coded, but this is not. But I'll just give you a quick update if you want to note it. You know our current 2024 project is our 5th Street South project from the lake at 1st Avenue Southeast over to 2nd Avenue West. And I'll just stay right there. The next 2 blocks going west on 5th Street on the south side of the school, we've got programs for next year so we can coordinate that construction with that's going on at the school. So that would be from 2nd to 4th Avenue. And then from 4th Avenue over to the east frontage road of Highway 73 is programmed for 2028. 2nd Avenue, which would be along the east side of the school, but going from 1st Street South down to 6th Street South, is the proposed 2029 project. Street South on the south side of the school is 6th Street Northeast and 4th Avenue Northeast on the north and the east side of Heritage Manor is part of next year's program. So 5th Street and the Heritage Manor area are next year's projects. The other project then is on 5th Street Northwest, and this is in preparation to extend new, better utilities to our proposed Wenton addition. And what I've got proposed is that in 2026, we would do the reconstruct or the replacement from 2nd Avenue Northwest to 5th Avenue Northwest. And then the following year in 2027, we would go from 5th Avenue to what would be 8th Avenue, or a block west from 7th Avenue, which is the entry point into the proposed Wenton addition. So with that, I would just ask you to set that public hearing date. We've suggested again 5 o'clock in advance of your next regular council meeting on October 9th, I believe it is. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, one question. Has the infrastructure under 7th Avenue Northwest been shot? What kind of shape is it in? You know? That looks terrible.
It was replaced from 4th to 6th back. It's been at least 10 years ago, and we have televised from 6th Street then up to 8th Street. One block is in fair shape. The other section is in very poor shape.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to say, Jim, this plan, wow, you're amazing. I mean,
Come on,
You-
with that, would you please?
I sure will. I mean, I highlighted some great points in here that you said about, 31,650
Lineal foot.
lineal feet. I mean, you knew it. I mean, like, this is really good.
People have left good tracks.
This is good. You did a great
Thank
job.
you, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Alright. I would look for a motion to schedule a public hearing on October 9th at 5 p.m.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Jed.
Or,
Thank you, Councilor Bucky. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Motion carries.
Then if you please turn to page 35. This is an annual program that we have administered through St. Louis County, which is a very good value for the city. Allows us to take advantage of some excellent pricing because of the number of communities and as well as the county themselves to participate in. And Larry and I have put this together, and in that, in the following pages, you'll see each of these programs that they offer to us and what we're proposing in terms of budget at this point, but we can always amend that budget, even delete it if it becomes necessary to balance the budget for the city. But what we do, participate in, and we've been trying to do the first two, the crack sealing and then what we call the chip and scrub sealing. We've been trying to promote that on an annual basis at a level of $50,000 per year, such that we can really most economically maintain our newer streets and keep them in good driving condition while we try to upgrade through mill and overlay projects and infrastructure replacement projects, those that, as you identify as being 90 and 100 years old. And you'll see the attached sheets, which is showing or listing where we are proposing it, at least as our priorities is right now. The county actually comes over and goes through it with Larry to identify and make sure that they're good candidates, that they're not too far gone, that it's a waste of money. So the crack sealing, scrub sealing, we've been participating in. The aggregate crushing is a very important program for us. We're getting a very good price on aggregate, which is becoming like gold up here, and purchasing it through the county. And as you'll see, we're proposing to purchase about 11,000 tons. About 3,000, it's closer to about 6,000 tons, about 3,000 cubic yards. We will actually use, if we move forward with our infrastructure projects on 5th Street South at the school and then up around the Heritage Manor area, we actually furnish the gravel because it's much more economical, but when we get outside funding, it reimburses us over and above that. But the balance of it, which is about 5,000 cubic yards, probably 6,000 ton, then Larry uses for our street maintenance, and then for when they're doing utility repairs as backfill for that. So that's a combination of both used for our infrastructure replacement projects as well as for the street maintenance. The maintenance striping is what we do along Main Street, center line, and lane lines for that, very economical. And then you'll see there's the administrative fees, which are just a few $100s, which is still very economical as compared to preparing plans and specs, going through the bidding process, provides all the construction maintenance, they process all the invoices or pay applications, so it's a very good program. So with that, all we need right now is that your approval on resolution 0924-78, entering into a cooperative agreement with St. Louis County.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Cotton.
support.
Thank you, Councilor Bucky. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Good job, Jim. Good work.
Thank you. Public Works Supervisor. Good evening, Larry.
Thank you.
right, moving along, almost page 2 here. Real easy one. We had last council meeting, we had some of the equipment and vehicles put on the surplus list so we could auction them off over at Dubit and Buell there. And one of them showed themselves that needs to go as well. So Tiffany and the ambulance crew was using a retired squad car and it fell apart on them. So, yeah. So anyway, with that, I ask you to, for your support to, by resolution number 0924-79 to add this vehicle to the surplus list in the auction.
Thank you, Larry. Council? I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0924-79, declaring surplus equipment.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Councilor Howard.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Blackby. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. And then for the add to the council agenda too. I have spoke of it, so when we had an opportunity come up, I've been looking for a used truck from the garbage department. The garbage department's doing very well. You know, we started off in 2021 with all brand new system, and our rates are good, some of the lowest on the range. And you know, we have our employees that are doing the work, and not contract, and we're doing a very good job. And we appreciate that. We have a bulk en route that's very successful, and it continues to grow, and we keep it affordable, and we keep it you know, mainstream. So anyway, with that, we'd be looking, so it showed itself that we need a truck for the garbage department with a lift gate to manhandle these carts and stuff like that. So, and then the PUC has approved the purchase, and so I'd be looking for final council approval to buy this 2023 Chevy 1500 two-wheel drive truck used for the garbage department for $13,275 from Dunn-Billinger, Ford, and Grand Rapids.
What's the price again?
$34,275.
Council, any questions or comments?
I think there was just a error. Was this one 53,000 or?
That's just a competitive bid. That was it. Oh, so I did satisfy the competitive bidding requirements as well. So I got a quote on a 2023 used Ford F-150 as well.
Thank you, Larry.
So the auditor won't catch it.
So, Council, I would be looking for a motion to approve the request to purchase the used 2023 Chevrolet 1500 2x4 truck for refuse garbage department for a total of $34,275 with the funds coming from the enterprise refuse account.
Yep.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Connors.
One second.
Thank you, Councilor Holla. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None motion carries.
All right, thank you. And then just the outfit for the truck. We spoke with the lift gate, aluminum lift gate, and strobe lights, back wrap to protect the back window, mud flaps, those little things. So with that, from United Truck Body, they're our local upfit dealer, and they take care of us very well. I look for your support in the amount of $5,370 for those outfits for that new used truck.
Make that motion. Thank you, Councilor Cotton.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Rocky. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Thank you.
I'm asking for support of accepting a donation of $500 from the Chisholm Football Quarterback Club to the flag football program for supplies. That's on page 47 in your packet. Very grateful to the Quarterback Club and hopeful that we will turn out some future football players to Chisholm football. Go Blue Streets.
Thank you, Bridget. Council, I would be looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0924-80 to accept a donation from the city of Chisholm from the Chisholm Football Quarterback Club in the amount of $500 to be earmarked for the Chisholm Rec Department flag football supplies.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Backey.
Support?
Thank you, Councilor Halverson. Any further discussion?
I guess I can just say that for those that aren't aware, the quarterback club is the booster club for the high school football team in Chisholm. And I'm at their meetings, although I'm not a voting member, but I go and give a report as the AD. But the boys work hard fundraising, and this donation is for the future. I mean, they're, our class sizes, although they remain good and level and steady, we've had noticed that some kids aren't playing football, and the numbers aren't getting there. So we have to put some funds into recruiting and to getting them excited about football. And so I'm sure we'll see this often, but this is a great thing for them to financially contribute to that program as a feeder program, and it is their feeder program.
And I would think this is this their first donation? For
Yes, they do have a fundraiser this Friday. Yes, Duke's Storage Barbecue
Where's that at?
at the football field from 11 to till it's gone. $11.
Let's do it.
Yeah, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
On page 49 in your packet is contract with BAR. There's two contracts coming tonight, and I think the entire council is familiar with the language in both of them, having been at the working session. This first one is requesting to accept BAR's proposal for site plan, cost estimates, bidding assistance, and construction administration services. This particular one on page 53 has that list of tasks that we had mentioned, and task 3, 4, 6, and 7 would be voted on contingent on funding in the vote that you're doing tonight. So
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Cotton.
Well, second.
Thank you, Councilor Halva. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have discussion. I remain opposed to these contracts for the same reasons I brought up at the working session. I don't feel the scope is appropriate yet. I think the cost is high and should be done in phases rather than in a big lump sum contract like this. And lastly, this contract was brought forward without any consent from the Red Head Committee or the Park Board. So I remain opposed to these until we can get them properly scoped and done in phases.
I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's what we were, it's not what we were gonna.
Well, we had a working session, we discussed it,
Yeah, I thought
but
that's what we were gonna do.
I'm still opposed to it.
Okay, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second, right?
Correct.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries.
the next contract on page 60 is the contract with BAR requesting council to accept BAR's proposal for bidding assistance, consulting work on landowner agreements and trail concept and bidding assistance for the IRRR connectivity grant. This second contract that we discussed at the working session, and I'm recommending that we approve this contract.
Thank you, Bridget. I apologize, we have to go to the last item really quickly. We need to make clarification on that.
Yeah, I would just recommend that everybody announce their vote on that last item since it wasn't unanimous, so the clerk can get that in the record, please.
So you're gonna do a roll call?
Roll
then?
call.
Roll call, yeah.
Alright, great.
Counselor Halverson,
No.
Counselor McLaraha,
Yes.
Counselor Fountain,
Yes.
Counselor Hulava,
Yes.
Counselor Baki.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So yeah, page 16 is the second contract, and I'm asking for support and acceptance of FAR's proposal for the connectivity, IRRR connectivity grant.
Alright. Council, I'm looking for a motion to approve the bar engineering agreement for design and bidding assistance services related to the Kitty Pump Track and connector trails.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Councilor Kola. Looking for a second.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Baki. Is there any discussion?
We have a discussion. I'm opposed for the same reasons I'm opposed to the previous contract.
Any further discussion? Alright. Susan, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Counselor Halverson,
No.
Counselor McLaraha,
Yes.
Counselor Fountain,
Yes.
Counselor Hulava,
Yes.
and Counselor Baki.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. And moving on, under city attorney, we have
Yeah, I'm not Brian Lindsay, but I'm filling in for him tonight. Thanks for putting up with me. So we have before you, Council, I believe at the last meeting, there was a closed session to negotiate this contract for City Administrator Scraba. I believe you've got a copy of it in there, and you see it's redlined from the prior contract. I'll just go through I'll summarize the changes briefly. I'm not gonna go into great detail, but then I'm happy to answer any questions. So bottom line, section 2, we have new terms. This will go for another 3 years. The other change would be that the employee resignation, advance notice for resignation was reduced from 90 days to 45 days. In section 3, then again, resignation would be included as a reason for the employee to have severance pay. And again, there was a little bit of a change in terms of a cap of the 75-day cap on collecting any time, any severance. I think that's pretty straightforward. Again, we've got the 45-day written notice for resignation listed in that section. Compensation also changes. It's still a staged compensation plan, and it'll adjust each year for the next 3 years. That's section 4. There was an addition put in under fringe benefits that the city administrator would receive any benefits provided for the MAPE contract where this contract is silent. So if this isn't addressed in here, then the MAPE contract would control those fringe benefits for the city administrator. Again, vacation days, you'll see that those changes just went up a day for each year. Again, staggered. And again, the sick pay, the clarification of how that is calculated was put in there. So those were the only changes. The rest of the contract remained the same. And I know the council's had some time to talk about and think about it. But if you have any questions for me on terms or the meaning of things, please let me know.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Okay, I would look for a motion to approve Administrator Scraba's contract.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Kelly.
A second.
Thank you, Councilor Hollowell. Any further discussion?
Keep doing what you're doing, Steph. You're amazing.
Thank you, Stephanie. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. All right, and then moving on to clerk treasurer.
Good evening. I have two action items. First is the truth and taxation public hearing certification. Every year we have to have truth and taxation meeting sometime between the end of November and middle of December. That is on page 72, and then page 73 is the report I gotta send to the accountant. We were thinking 6:01 on Wednesday, December 11th. I believe that has been back past practice.
Council, any questions? I will look for a motion to schedule the truth and taxation public hearing for December 11th, 2024, beginning at 6:01 p.m.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Councilor Howes.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Bucky. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Then second action item is resolution number 0924-1, proposed tax levy. And on page 75, I used Evan's template. And page 75 basically gives step increments of 5% to the current 2024 levy to give us projected 2025. Each percent increase is roughly $22,670. Then page 76 is each 1% step increase. The average, 5-year average that the council has increased levies 6.6%. And the only thing we're doing now is setting basically the ceiling of the levy. And there'll be discussion a week from now in the working session. And so we'll make decisions then and come to a better idea of what the final levy will be at. I think our suggested rate increase is set at 10%, and we're likely going to work from there.
Okay. Council, thoughts?
Yeah, it can't go higher. I mean, that's what we're setting. It can't go higher. Obviously, we always try to go lower. Typically, we do get lower, but I have no issue, and I'll make a motion for set it at 10%.
Okay. So we have a motion from Councilor Baki to adopt resolution 0924-81 to set the preliminary proposed tax levy for 2025 at 10%. Would we be looking for a second for that?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Halva. Any further discussion?
So just remind me, how much would 10% be then?
Maybe about 220,000.
26.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, each 1% would be 22 to 23,000.
Just so the folks at home know too, you know?
Okay. I was gonna read this all out loud for clarity.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
10% would be $226,698, and just again for clarity, this is a preliminary levy. This is not the final levy. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Susan, roll call vote, please.
Councilor Councilor Halverson,
Yes.
Councilor McLaughlin,
Yes.
Councilor Fontaine,
No.
Councilor Halava,
Yes.
Councilor Baki.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. City Administrator Scraba.
Good evening. First item I have on the agenda is resolution number 0924-82 to make application to the Chisholm Community Foundation for improvements on the Chisholm Arena.
This application will be for funding of the bleacher heating system. If any of you have been in the arena, you're familiar with what that is, about the bleachers or the heating system. As the council knows, we have a big project starting next year at the Arena Curling Club, so we're just trying to get some funding to do some of the extras that aren't within that larger scope. This is one of those things. So the application will be in the amount of $17,000 to request funds from the Chisholm Community Foundation. So we're looking for support on that.
Awesome. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Cotton.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Holda. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I need to abstain, because I'm on that committee.
No, I can just make a record of the abstention.
Abstain.
Yeah.
Motion carries.
Next item I have on the agenda is the Chisholm Area Chamber requesting for Lake Street Trick or Treat. What they're requesting for the barricades on Lake Street for the Halloween event on October 30th from 2:30 to 7. We discussed this in our staff meeting yesterday. No concerns from the staff with getting that up and ready to go. It's a fun event for everybody in town. We're looking for support for the chamber on this event.
Council, we would be looking for a motion to approve Lake Street to be barricaded on Wednesday, October 30th from 2:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. from the entrance of the Keyboard Liquor parking lot to the alley after the Kiwanis Park for the Lake Street Trick or Treat and Halloween Pet Parade events organized by the Chisholm Chamber.
Make a motion.
Thank you, Councilor Henderson.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Halva. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
The next item I have on the agenda is to support the youth in action. As the council is aware, we do have gambling funds that we can utilize to support organizations within our region. Last year we did support this with a $500 sponsorship. My recommendation is that we would do the same for this year also.
Thank you.
It's for the conference.
Make a motion.
For
$500.
$500, all right.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Halva and Councilor Fountain. Any discussion?
I do have one thing.
Okay.
I think, if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, but I think last year we tied our funds to Chisholm students. And so I'd like you to consider maybe amending your motion so that the money that we put in because it can go to any student. But I think it would be appropriate for us to specifically make sure that our money goes to Chisholm students.
I can amend my motion, fine, to only support Chisholm students.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Halva.
Amend my second.
Thank you, Councilor Fountain. Any further discussion?
Thanks, Travis.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
The next item I have on the agenda is a request for support from Rebecca Anderson, who's here today. I don't know if you have anything to say, or you want me just to take it?
I can, yeah,
Sure, you can come on up. So Rebecca owns a commercial building downtown. We've been doing a lot of work. As you know, she received a demo grant from IRRR that's been working through the city on that. So I just was at her building maybe a month ago, a couple weeks ago, and it's looking great. So she has some ideas for some art mosaic projects around town.
Yeah, like you said, Rebecca Anderson. I'm a business owner and artist. And one of the things that I am looking at doing is I've been working a lot on pushing myself to get my art out there more, doing a lot more mosaic art projects specifically. Been experimenting with high traffic tile. And if you're interested in seeing a piece on it, you can go over my building and look at it, the one in the bathroom floor. And so I have been taking a lot of classes on different styles of mosaics. Right now I'm doing one with glass, so like a, I guess, I don't know how to describe it, but anyway, I'll show you a picture later. So basically, I'm looking to try to do a grant application for an early artist career. And this would be for a public installation of an art piece. I'm looking specifically at doing a mosaic installation. It's just basically a public piece where if this city of Chisholm would be willing to have an installation done, I'm looking at specifically like maybe potentially a pothole or something like that to fill and make it beautiful. And so there's no funding asked for or anything, it's just a permission to do a mosaic in a site to be determined in the future. So I just need a letter of support in order to apply for the grant. Doesn't guarantee that I will get it or anything like that, but it's just something I was hoping to do to beautify the city, and looking to, if I receive the grant, would be something in the spring we have more conversation on.
And Rebecca and I spoke to, we would obviously coordinate with Barry and Jim on the site location too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in the packet there is just like some examples of the moose is the one that I did before. And the one in the top left corner, that's actually not my piece. That was what I was inspired by, to try to find some opportunities to where people are in our local area saying, why can't we fix this? And so I don't necessarily know I can fill every pothole in Chisholm, but I'd like to try at least do one and see how it goes.
Well, I think this is a very creative solution. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have a question. Rebecca, can you tell us where your business is and what business is it?
Yeah, so first and foremost, like I have a business named Wise Elephant Consulting. I do a lot of project management, but essentially I have three areas. I do economic development, workforce development, and community development. And one of the areas of community development that I've been specifically focusing on is I'm very passionate about economic development, and in order to do both at the same time, you need a place for arts. And so the downtown space that I'm working on is to the right of Casey Drug, if you are on the Main Street. I've been working on trying to get that building up and going for quite some time. I almost have a bathroom, so it is there, but we just gotta get the pressure test done. So yeah, so I'm hopefully opening an art gallery on the Main Street soon, and I'm hoping to have other artists there as well to display their work. And just as the community has more arts options available for people to see and be a part of, it overall does increase the value of walkable traffic downtown and overall economic development. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion for the letter of permission from the council.
Thank you, Councilor Baxter.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Falda. Any further discussion?
Discussion? Sorry, I see on the invoice register, we're already doing work with her.
No, that's actually the grant that I was talking about. So we did an IRRR internal demo grant in Rebecca's building, and that's reimbursing her for that.
Okay,
grant.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So we're getting all the garbage out of the building. Been working on it for a while.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item I have on the agenda is it's time to schedule the joint meeting with the Bolton Township. October 29th is the proposed time for that with them, which is a Tuesday, I believe, at 5:30, if that works.
October 29th, 5:30.
There.
that works for everybody? Works for me. I'll just coordinate with them and let them know that it works for the council. I've been in correspondence with them, so we'll just let them know. Okay, council, I would like for a motion to schedule a joint meeting with Vulcan Township on October 29th at 5:30 p.m. at the Vulcan Community Center.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor Felton.
Support.
Thank you, Councilor Bucky. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Alright. Next, we have Councilor Helmerson to discuss IRRR Mylan Reclamation Matching Grants.
Thank you. Red Hat has 3 locations where the mine pit slopes are experiencing instability, sliding issues, damage, etc., etc. The first site is the North Star Trail, and that was washed out during the June rainstorm that discussed with Tiffany earlier. Severe rainstorm washed the slope out, and I think we're looking at potentially FEMA money to help reimburse for that. And it closed the trail. The trail is still closed. We're working on an interim trail to maybe open up just to get the traffic back on it, but there's a pretty substantial repair job that needs to be done there. And after we, during this repair, reroute, the old trail is going to get closed and it'll be routed on the new route. The second site, the North Rim Trail, flooded during the 2022 storms. Barber Creek overtopped its banks on Memorial Day, and that was due to 2 plug culverts. Larry worked very hard with contractors and with Northern Tracks and their project. They unplugged one of the culverts, and then they replaced the other culvert here this past winter when they rerouted the TV trail and did that upgrade on the east end of the pit. And Larry also began doing the North Rim repair, and he got started, got the culvert in, and was in the process of getting it finished, but the project was stopped. And we've now since lost our funding, so we're looking at ways to still repair that because it does need repair. And finally, the third one, the South Rim Trail, has been sliding probably for 50 years, but in the past few years it's slid more and more, and it's getting closer and closer to the trail. Eventually, the trail will need to be rerouted. It's not a substantial reroute, and right now it's not a priority compared to the other 2. So, the problem with the IRRR grants is they're willing to give them, they're easy to get, but they are matching grants. So they're 50-50 matching. Jim Powers told me that he can award those at his discretion, but we have to have matching funds. And at this point, I don't know if the city has any matching funds. So I'm requesting that our staff look into our budget, and are there any accounts where we actually came out under this year where we could maybe afford $10,000, 15, 20, 30, up to 30, I would think would be at the maximum. In our Red Hat budget, we had $10,000 budgeted for promotions, and I don't know if we spent that or not. In our miscellaneous budget, we had $49,000 for miscellaneous, which I don't know if we spent that or not. And I have the account numbers here, Evan and Stephanie, I'd like to look at those. On the Red Hat, it's 101, 45210. -340. I'm assuming we've spent all our maintenance money already on Red Hat, but that's not true either. Our contingency miscellaneous is 101, 49250-442. And then we also had a miscellaneous budget for motor fuel. Don't know what that is. That's all over fuel or just a contingency for fuel. That's also under miscellaneous 101, 492-250-212. Those are just a few things that I saw in our budget. It was like well, I don't know if we're spending that or not, they're just kind of listed as miscellaneous or promotion. Maybe we've spent that money and maybe it's not available. The other thing we thought of was, I believe our mill overlay project came in well under budget, so I don't know if there's any possibility to shift funds there. So all I'm asking is that the staff look to see if there's any place left in our 2024 budget where we could put up some matching money. And if so, then we could look into these mineland reclamation grants. And they are designed to repair mine sites, mining property that either needs repair due to erosion damage, sliding, plug culverts, stuff that just needs to be fixed in some of these mining areas. They've been abandoned for 50 to 100 years.
Thank you, Councilor Halberstam. I would look to either Administrator Strada or Parks and Rec. Bridget, do we?
Yeah, in the redhead budget, we don't have anything currently. The other items that you had listed, I don't know off the top of my head. Miscellaneous fuels is for the school, I know that. I'd have to go back and look. I don't believe we have left over in the current budget, but I can't say that for sure until we looked at it. I just also want to recognize that we are working with FEMA to get some funding for those projects. And we also have a meeting with the DNR tomorrow to secure additional maintenance dollars for that. So we are working towards getting additional funding for those projects that Councilor Halberstam has addressed.
I would say that the Northwood Trail is vulnerable because we didn't finish the repair that we started. So if there is anything to prioritize, I would prioritize that right now. We were on a roll, we were getting it fixed, and then it got stopped, and now it's okay, but it really should be finished, or we might be subject to a bigger repair in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have it updated at the budget working session?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anyone have any items under miscellaneous?
No. Alright, if there is no further discussion, I would look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Councilor
Support.
Councilor Rocky, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Very nice, motion carries.
Where did you take it?